Let me tell you what the most common mistake podcasters make with audio, and it's not what you think. It is not using the wrong mic, it is not recording in a bad room, it is not even skipping acoustic treatment. The most common mistake is the order of operations. Most people record their episodes, listen back, realize something is off, to echo it, to muffle a weird buzz in the background, and then spend the next hour trying to fix it in editing. Noise reduction plugins, equalizer adjustments, or EQ adjustments, the reverb tools. Some of it helps, most of it is damage control. And the thing is, none of that would have been necessary if they have spent 2 minutes checking their setups before they press record. Most audio problems are not an editing challenge. They are a setup problem you can solve in under 2 minutes before you record a single word. That is the reframe this whole video is built on. No better plugins, not more expensive gear, just catching the problem before it becomes a problem. I'm going to walk you through 3 fixes and one bonus habit. None of them require new equipment, all of them work immediately, and if you do all 4 before your next session, you will spend less time editing and more time actually creating. So let's get into it. Before the 3 fixes, I want to make sure that we are on the same page about why this matters, because I think a lot of podcasters underestimate how much time they lose to reactivate audio fixes. And here is the reality of the audio editing when something goes wrong. The tools have improved a lot in the past few years. Noise reduction, de-reverb, AI cleanup, these are genuinely useful, but they are not magic. Every time you run a cleanup tool on a recording, you are making a trade-off. You reduce the noise, but you also slightly change the quality of the voice. You remove the echo, but the result sounds slightly processed. Sometimes that is fine. Sometimes it makes the audio sound worse in a different way than before. And that is assuming the problem is fixable at all. Some recording environments produce issues that no plugin can fully solve. Consistent background noise from an HVAC system, a USB mic that picked up a ground hum for the entire session, a room so reverberant that your voice sounds like it is bouncing off a wall simultaneously. Prevention sidesteps all of that. When you spend 2 minutes checking your setup before you record, you are not just saving editing time, you are protecting the quality ceiling of your audio. The best editing can do is get you back to what you recorded. Prevention is how you record something worth keeping in the first place. Editing is what you do when something goes wrong. Prevention is how you make sure it does not. With that framing in place, here are the 3 fixes. Fix number 1, get closer to your microphone that you think that you need. This is the single most common setup problem I see, and is almost always the first thing that we need to address. Most people sit too far away, not dramatically far, just a few inches, enough more than they should be. And those few inches make significant difference in how the audio sounds. Here is why distance matters so much. Every microphone has what is called a pickup pattern, the area around the mic where the sound is captured clearly. When you are within that zone, your voice sounds present, full, direct. When you move away from that zone, your voice gets quieter relative to the room noise. The mic starts picking up the reflections of your voice bouncing off the walls almost as clearly as it picks up your voice himself. That is where the echo and the recorded in a room quality comes from. The practical rule, it's close enough that your voice sounds like you are talking to someone across the table, not across the room. For most mic, that is roughly a fist distance from the capsule. If you can cover the distance between your mouth and the mic with your hand, you are in the right zone. The other benefit of getting close is that it gives you more control over background noise. When your voice is the loudest thing in the mic's pickup zone, ambient sounds, traffic, HVAC, keyboard clicks becomes proportionally quieter. Distance is one of the most effective natural noise reduction tools that you have, and it costs absolutely nothing. One quick note on plosives. If you find that getting close causes popping sounds on words that starts with P or B, you have two options. A pop filter, which physically diffuses the air burst before it hits your mic, or speaking slightly off axis, meaning you position your mic slightly to the side of your mouth rather than directly in front of it. Either approach eliminates the problem without pushing you further away from the mic. Mic distance is your first line of defense against echo, room noise, and things sounding audio. Move in. The difference is immediate and significant. Fix number 2. Treat the room before you treat the recording. That hollow, echoey sound that makes a podcast feel like it was recorded in a gym or in a tile bathroom, that is not a mic problem. That is a room problem. And the way most people try to resolve it is running the reverb plugins in post is the wrong end of the problem. Here is what is actually happening. Every hard surface in your recording space reflects sound. Walls, windows, hardwood floors, ceilings, they all bounce your voice back toward the mic at a slight delay. That delay is what your brain interprets as echo or reverb. And the more hard surface there are, and the larger the room, the more pronounced the effect becomes. The good news is that you do not need professional acoustic treatment to fix this. You just need soft materials like rugs, curtains, upholstered furniture, bookshelves full of books, heavy fabric, even a pile of cushions absorb sound rather than reflecting it. They reduce the number of reflections that reach the mic and make your voice sound more contained and direct. Here is the fastest room test. Stand where you plan to record and clap once sharply. Listen to what happens immediately after that. Does the sound stop cleanly? Or does it linger even briefly, bouncing around the space? If it lingers, your room needs more absorption. If it stops quickly, you are in a decent shape. A few specific changes that make a meaningful difference. Record in a smaller room where you can. Smaller rooms have less space for reflections to build up. A furnished bedroom or a home office is almost always better than an open living room or a kitchen. Do not sit in the center of the room. The center is where reflections from all the walls arrive simultaneously, which is exactly where echo is more pronounced. Sit closer to one wall, against it, but near it. and the acoustic response improved noticeable. If you have a closet near your recording space, try to record inside of it with the door partially open. Clothes are surprisingly effective at absorption of the sound, and the small enclosed space reduces reflection dramatically. It is a genuinely useful trick that costs absolutely nothing. You do not need a perfect studio. You just need fewer reflections, a rug, some curtains. The right room position can transform your audio without touching a single plugin. Now, let's go into the fix number 3. Monitor your audio in real time by putting headphones on before you press record. This is the fix that gets skipped most often, and it is the one that will have prevented the most frustration. And here is what happens without headphones. You record your episode, you feel good about it, you go to edit, and then you discover that there was a faint buzz running through the whole thing because of a loose USB connection. Or you realize the gain was set too high and there is a consistent crackling every time your voice gets loud. Or you notice that the room sounded fine when you went in it, but on a playback, there is an echo you completely miss because you were listening with your ears in the room rather than through the mic. All of those are fixables with headphones. None of them are fixable after the fact without degrading the recording. When you put headphones on before you record, you are hearing the audio the same way your listeners will hear it. You are hearing the mic's perspective, not the room's perspective. And that shift reveals things you simply can't catch by listening to the space around you while you record. What to listen for in those first 10 seconds of monitoring? Buzzing or humming, usually a cable issue or a ground loop. Fix it by swapping cables, changing USB ports, or moving away from other electronics. Crackling, usually a gain or input level issue. Bring the gain down until the crackling disappears, then bring it back up slowly until your voice is clear and consistent. Volume that feels too low. Move closer to the mic before touching the gain. Distance is almost always the cause before settings are. An echo you did not expect. Adjust the room setup using the fixes from steps 2 before you record. Headphones turn on problem you discover in editing into a problem you solve in 10 seconds. That it is the entire value. Put them on every single session without exception. And one more thing, the habit that it ties all 3 fixes together. Before every episode, before you get into the real content, record a quick intro line. Just one sentence, something like testing, testing for let's go. Then stop. Play it back immediately through your headphones and listen. 10 seconds of listening. That it is. This is one habit that catches more problems than all of the other preparations combined because it is the only step where you can actually hear the recording the way your listener will hear it in the actual conditions of that specific session. Because here is the thing. Your setup can change in between sessions without you realizing it. You move a lamp and now you have a new reflection. You switch to a different USB port and now there is a home. The humidity is different today and your mic sounds slightly different. The 10-second test catches all that before you are 40 minutes into an episode that has to be re-recorded. It also gives you something that it is easy to underestimate. It warms up your voice. You first 30 seconds of any recording are usually the least natural sounding. Your voice is still settling. Your delivery is slightly more careful than it will be with a minute or two. Now, recording a test line and throwing it away means your actual first words are recorded when you are already comfortable and in rhythm. 10 seconds of playback before every session, it costs almost nothing, and it has prevented more re-records than any piece of gear or plugin ever will. So 3 fixes and 1 bonus habit. Let's run through them quickly. Fix 1, get closer to the mic, a fist distance from the capsule, close enough to sound present, far enough to avoid plosives. Distance is your first line of defense against echo and room noise. Fix number 2, controlling the room. Soft material, absorb reflections. Smaller rooms are almost always better. Do not sit in the center. Run the clap test before you decide your setup is working. Fix number 3, headphones or before record. Monitor your audio in real time so you hear what your listeners will hear. Catch the buzzing, crackling, and volume issues in seconds rather than in editing. The bonus habit is the 10-second test. Record one line, play it back immediately, listen to anything that it sounds off. Fix it now, then record your episode. None of this requires new gear, all it makes an immediate difference. And every one of those fixes takes less time than a single round of noise reduction in post. If this was useful, subscribe. I put out practical content like this regularly for podcasters and content creators who want to spend less time fixing problems and more time building their show. I also write a free weekly Substack covering audio lighting, episode planning, format guides, industry playbooks. So the link is in the description. And generally, if you have a specific audio issue you have been trying to solve, drop it in the comments. Tell me what you are hearing and what you have already tried. The most common questions becomes the next video. Do the clap test. Put the headphones on, record your 10-second check. Your audio is better than you think it can be. You just need to catch the problems before they even happen. See you on the next one.